Okay, so picture this. Imagine we have a highly advanced, totally human-like robot. Let's say you hand it a perfectly ripe mango. Now, this robot has incredibly sophisticated sensors, right? So it perfectly analyzes the chemical composition. It maps the exact sugar molecules, the acidic balance, all the aromatic compounds. It processes every single bit of that data flawlessly. But here is the massive question. Does that robot actually experience the sweetness? Does its motherboard get a sugar rush? Well, no, of course not. It's just crunching data. But when you eat a mango, you don't just process data. You have a rich, subjective, conscious experience. You actually feel the joy of that sweetness. And this gap between just processing data and actually experiencing life, that is arguably the absolute greatest mystery in modern science. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going on an incredibly fascinating journey together. We are going to look at the absolute cutting edge of modern brain scans and quantum physics, and we're going to bridge them with some of the most profound, ancient, and highly practical Sanskrit texts in existence. If you've ever wanted to truly understand how your mind works, and honestly, more importantly, how to actually master it, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll unpack the hard problem of consciousness. Second, physics meets ancient wisdom. Third, the ultimate conscious observer. And finally, the Gita's guide to life. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the hard problem of consciousness. So through modern functional MRIs and PET scans, neuroscientists have accomplished some absolutely staggering things. They've proposed several theories to try and map the mind. A really prominent one is the global workspace theory, developed by Bernard Bars. It essentially suggests that consciousness originates from this decentralized network of interacting neurons. Kind of think of it like a giant theater screen inside your brain, where various images and ideas are being projected. And honestly, it's a brilliant way to map wakefulness and attention. But here's the catch. It still only describes the physical processing. It perfectly explains the projector and the screen, but it completely fails to explain who is sitting in the audience actually watching the movie. Now, what's really interesting here is what philosopher David Chalmers coined as the hard problem of consciousness. He asks such a profound question. Why should physical processing give rise to a rich inner life at all? I mean, science can easily explain the quote-unquote easy problems, like how the brain integrates information. They can literally map the neural correlates of sadness, or what happens when you perceive the color green. But they absolutely cannot observe what sadness actually feels like to you. Science simply cannot locate the experiencer. Moving right along to Section 2, Physics meets Ancient Wisdom. So when conventional scientific methods hit a brick wall, mostly because they're entirely based on observing worldly objects, where do we turn? Well, interestingly enough, Erwin Schrödinger, yes, the Nobel Prize-winning pioneer of quantum mechanics, realized that conventional materialism was incomplete. When his deep research into wave mechanics revealed the truly bizarre, non-solid nature of reality, he actually turned eastward. He noted that Vedanta teaches consciousness is singular, that all happenings are played out in one universal consciousness, and there's no multiplicity of selves. He embraced this incredible view that reality was actually based on an underlying unity of mind. And this brilliantly illustrates a total cosmic paradigm shift. The strictly physicalist view of neuroscience says that your brain's billions of neurons just magically interact to produce consciousness as a byproduct. It's almost like a laptop generating heat while it runs programs, right? But Advaita Vedanta, this ancient non-dualist philosophy, flips this entirely on its head. It says consciousness is the fundamental, non-material fabric of reality. Your physical brain, your body, the entire material world, they are simply manifestations within that consciousness. It turns our modern scientific assumption completely upside down. Which brings us to Section 3, the ultimate conscious observer. So, if consciousness isn't just something your brain manufactures, but rather something you fundamentally are, how do we even begin to study it? Well, ancient sages realized you literally have to reverse the direction of your inquiry. You have to look within. Lord Kapila taught that consciousness is the eternal symptom of the soul's presence. In the Vedantic tradition, you are not your physical body, and get this, you aren't even your mind, your intelligence, or your ego. Those just make up your subtle body. Think about it for a second. You can observe your own thoughts, right? You can watch yourself get angry. If you can step back and observe your emotions, you fundamentally cannot be those emotions. You are the ultimate conscious observer. You are the witness sitting behind the machinery of the brain. Let's see how this builds into something super practical in Section 4, the Gita's Guide to Life.
Okay, how do we actually bridge the biology of the brain with the spiritual psychology of the Gita? Imagine receiving a really harsh performance review at work. Neuroscience tells us your amygdala spikes, right? That creates intense emotional turbulence, sensory pain, and triggers a massive ego-driven threat response. But verse 12:16 of the Bhagavad Gita offers the ultimate antidote, stepping back into the role of the observer. It describes a true devotee as being entirely free from worldly anxiety, remaining completely equanimous, so totally balanced, in both joy and sorrow, and renouncing selfish undertakings. By anchoring yourself as the witness, you stop identifying with the turbulent neurochemicals washing over your brain. You just watch the stress spike without actually becoming the stress.
Now, the crucial point here is that Eastern mysticism isn't about running away from reality or sitting passively in a cave all day. Verse 16 uses a very specific, amazing word, daksh, which means skillful. Think of a master surgeon performing a critical operation, or a top-tier software engineer launching a high-stakes tech project. They execute their work with absolute excellence. The Gita teaches that you absolutely still work hard and solve complex modern problems, but you do it as a selfless offering. You stay completely detached from your personal ego and all that anxiety about the final outcome. So you perform with supreme skill, but with total inner detachment. To make this super concrete for you, let's walk through a daily self-reflection checklist designed for the modern worker. Ask yourself, am I chasing worldly gains or seeking grace? Do I value internal purity over my external appearance? Am I striving for excellence purely as a form of devotion? Or am I overly worried about what my colleagues think? Because let's be real, that's just your ego-driven reward pathway acting up. Do I act just to get personal recognition? Actively running through these questions is a real game changer. It actively separates your true self, the conscious observer, from the anxious, approval-seeking machinery of your mind. It is a wildly powerful, highly functional daily toolkit. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Fusing modern neuroscience with ancient Vedanta creates a profound shift in how we see ourselves. Your physical brain is always going to process the world. It's always going to produce thoughts and feelings exactly like it processes the sweetness of a mango. But remember, you are the one experiencing it. You are the audience. So I want to leave you with this. The very next time you feel overwhelmed, stressed, or caught up in some crazy emotional storm, just pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, are you the emotion or are you the observer watching it? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey. Keep learning, keep observing, and I will see you in the next explainer.